gets all its power because whenever the cattle excrete their feces, the methane builds up inside the barn, and it's transported to either these lagoons, which are just full of manure, and then there's usually tarps over this, and the methane from that comes up, goes into these two generators, and the generators, there's a paper on how all the generators work, and so then they just supply the rest of the farm. And that's so you can do pieces by pieces of what each little section is. Start?
We'll put the stream in here because streams there's bacteria producing methane. So if you've ever stepped on the bottom of a stream and it bubbles up, that's methane. And you can drill for methane and produce methanol, which can be used in vehicles or for electricity. So all of our vehicles on our farm they run on methanol, which this farm is getting their methane from the lagoons, of course, but the stream, you can get the methane from that. Our field is fertilized with manure.
And this is actual corn.
If you actually look in that shed right there, that feed, that's actually real distiller's feed. It's an organic matter to help produce wood cattle. And it's green because it's a byproduct of alcohol production. Because when they use corn to make the alcohol, they distill it, so that's a byproduct of whiskey and scotch and stuff.
Do you have any questions for them?
We can't put the labels up. If you have any questions,
So how is the methane captured? You say it travels to the lagoons. So is it like a solid? Do they move it to the lagoon?
No, they move it as some people, they have what's called it's a flow plug system, where pretty much all the waste, usually there's a downhill slide and it comes down to here, and some people just swoop around and it just leaks into the lagoon, and then they got tarps over, and that's how you get the power from the gas.
So
it's gathered as a solid waste,
okay,
and then it's turned into a gas.
And sometimes,
use it as solid.
Yes.
Okay.
yeah, well, also, when they fart and stuff, that's all methane. So when you hear people lighting their farts on fire.
How do they get? Yeah,
That's
how
how
do they obtain gas?
Okay,
Well, there's tarps over there
when they
usually.
they culture that manure with methane producing bacteria. So when it's eating through that manure, it releases that methane from there, so it can be captured, and then it's pumped into here. Or sometimes they also pump the actual manure into a furnace, which heats the manure, and it can be used for 20 days until they're done with that. And then when they're done heating that manure, they can send that manure out into the field to fertilize their crops. So it's basically a cycle with their manure, and then obviously when they're done producing the crops, they use those crops to feed the cattle along with their distillery.
And some other things that we feed our cattle. That's dry distillers. We have dry corn, high moisture corn, which is obviously just wet. Hay or alfalfa, one or the other, hardly ever both. Sometimes, depending on the ration, as we call it, a herd of cattle might need a certain one. If we have a heifer or several heifers in one lot, say 40 heifers, then we'd need so many pounds of something called MGA, or that's short name for it, and it pretty much just makes sure that if a bull were to get loose or something, then the heifer won't get pregnant.
How much electricity is produced from, how much can be produced?
I have that in my
There you go.
I think it's,
Here you go.
well, a farm with about 1,400 head of dairy cattle can produce 4 to 5 megawatts of energy, and that can power about 200 homes per day.
A day?
Yeah, per day.
Wow, that's a lot. Gabe?
So that number of megawatts, is that its daily output? Okay.
And of course, you can't store energy, so
It has to be just used. Oh yeah, most
if
people.
you wanted to, you could sell energy.
Yeah, you can sell them to power grids anywhere you want, really, and they'll just supply it to homes throughout the
And like
area.
I said, some companies will come in, and it's kind of like wind energy or drilling for oil, and they'll drill in your stream and stuff for that.
Are there farms now doing this?
Yeah, they're all over, and a lot of farms use this methane energy, and then they also put up wind turbines throughout the fields. Yeah.
What is the cost of doing this?
It can vary anywhere from
Several $million.
yeah, several $1 million, but
For one windmill, the big windmill.
well,
that,
no, the methane.
Oh, the methane.
The generators cost some of them cost. The lowest you find is probably $500,000.
Okay.
It probably saves you more than that in the long run.
Yeah, it's more of a long run project. You wouldn't just use it for a couple of years and sell your farm, because that would just be a loss to the buyer.
Jake?
I was just wondering, is that the comp for the compost?
Well, it's just this is a Christian farm.
Oh yeah, that's a crucified centipede.
Alright. Any other questions for Kale and Josh and Luke? Alright, give them a round of applause.